So here are the decals that I have. I'm going to drag and drop them into Photoshop, and it's going to give me this free transform box where I would need to confirm that I want them to be imported. So you can either click on this check, or you can just use the enter for each one of them. These images are being imported as smart objects, and smart objects give you flexibility in terms of editing, meaning that you can resize them more easily in a non-destructive way than just regular images. And the reason I know that these are being imported as smart objects is because I can see here this thumbnail here. Once you're done with the smart object, you can easily just right mouse button on this spot here, and then you click on rasterize, and then it becomes like a regular layer. So just to put it to the test, before I start with the procedure of decals, it's important to see a comparison. So I'm going to duplicate this layer, and I'm going to turn this into a rasterized layer, which means it's no longer going to be a smart object. I'm going to select both of them, hit Ctrl T, which is free transform, then scale them down quite a bit. Hit enter, then Ctrl T again, scale them up. Notice that kind of pixelation. Typically, this is just a preview. So once you hit enter, it's going to refine the resolution, but it's a matter of how much endurance there is between a rasterized layer versus the smart object. So let's see. Okay. So let me select here the regular layer, move it over. Oh, notice the difference. And that, in a nutshell, is the big difference between smart objects and also regular or rasterized layers. So with that said, I'm going to undo and go back to this stage, delete this layer here, and now you know the difference. It's important in that case then to scale the decals to your liking, and then once you're done really deciding, you know, how much scaling you need to do, and then if you want to do some warping effect, which I will demonstrate in this video, then after you do that, you get to decide if you want to rasterize the layer or not. It's good to know the difference. So I'm gonna go select all of these decals by clicking one of them and then all the way down, shift select, and now I'm gonna drag them into a folder. I'm gonna call this folder decals. This way I can keep things organized and I can stay focused on having this image, and I can choose anything here I want. I can hide all of these. And then I'm going to click right mouse button here on the thumbnail and go into small thumbnail. And then I'm going to drag all the way with the left mouse button, one click, and then drag to hide all of them. Now right mouse button, large thumbnail. Now I get to choose each one of these to start with editing them. A much easier way for me to evaluate which sticker I want to go where on that beautiful artwork is by looking at the images right away like this, instead of torturing myself to go and check these files here. So you can do it either here, or you can just keep them not hidden, really whatever you like. But for me, I'm just gonna make a quick overview here and think about these stickers, and then see which one fits what area. You can also do the same process by thinking, you know what, I'm just going to drag this here and just start by using this. So either way would work, and I can do that. But what I want to do is also to demonstrate that process of organizing things in a folder. I can hide this now that you know how to do things with folders. You can also, if you want to keep things more organized, you can click on right mouse button here on that folder, and then you get to choose the color of that segment here, or category, or folder, or file. You can do the same thing here, for instance, right? This is going to help you on keeping things organized in a way that you know which one is a decal, which one is supposed to be the artwork or the background, and things like that. Now that I have hidden everything, I can simply just take a look at this and think, okay, this already looks like a poster, right? So maybe I'll just keep it like this as a poster. Next, I am going to show this one here. You see here, it's kind of annoying that I accidentally select the artwork. So what I'm going to do now is to Select on that artwork and click here on the lock. This way I will not accidentally select it. Good, good. Okay, so next going here. This is actually nice because it has a lot of transparency there. And that's going to make it to blend even more nicely than regular stickers. So let's see where I could use this. Motor Speedway, and the fact that it's black, that should also dictate where it should go. And again, this is one of the cool things about smart objects, the fact that we can really resize things really badly and we can still retain some of that resolution. Of course, there's a limit, so no matter how good the resizing is going to be, you would still be losing a lot of that resolution because basically you're really scaling it down like really, really tiny. Okay, so the way I am going to proceed with this process is by applying the stickers without any editing, just so I can have a general idea where these stickers are going to be, and then later on I can worry about maybe duplicating them or maybe just editing them. We'll see. Okay, here's next. I'm not gonna use this one because it's red and it's not gonna stand out, so I'll just delete it. This could be possibly nice. Here. And I need to always find a reference point that would help me on making decisions in terms of how the sticker is going to be. So for instance, what I mean by that is that I need to find a line that's going to tell me, okay, so this is how it's supposed to be oriented. Another thing you could do sometimes if you feel like you want this to be kind of like tilted a little bit, you can distort the free transform. So click and hold Control and then you move. So that's going to allow you to give it some sort of an angle, because one of the things you also need to consider other than the line here is this line here and also this line here. So it would help to kind of tilt it in a way that it would feel kind of more fitting. Then enter. I would be tempted to do the same thing here. Even though it's not the same piece, because typically decals would be on the outside just where we see them. I would be tempted just for fun to just kind of by the way, sorry, when I duplicated this, the way you duplicate objects in Photoshop is by holding Alt and then you move. Okay, so just out of that curiosity and temptation, I'm adding this here because what I want to do is to have some fun with these shadows that I have in here, and the fact that it's placed in a place that is kind of like almost like hidden. So the subtlety is kind of challenging, but it's fun to achieve. So I'll keep this here for now, and let's see other stickers. Not into this one. Racing Jesus. With Jesus. That's funny. Okay. Also, one thing to consider also is that you don't want to overdo stuff. Yeah. So maybe I'll consider something here for the frontal area, but I don't think this one would be good. I don't think any one of these stickers would be good for that front piece, mainly because the resolution is gonna be butchered. But let's see. When you wanna go to the free transform, that would be Control T. Distort, and then distort. So here is my reference point in terms of the alignment for the lower line. Then I'm gonna click Control and move this here. And not necessarily it has to be kind of narrowing down, because the sticker has to stay the way it is without necessarily adapting to that triangle kind of shape. I don't really like it in terms of the aesthetic, and it doesn't fit so far. And it's kind of challenging because I don't really have a specific reference of orientation, but I do like it as far as it being challenging for me to figure out. So that's why I'm gonna keep fiddling with it just a little bit. Maybe I'll come back to it later, but most likely I'm not gonna keep it. This could be nice, but since it's a lot of red colors into it, I'll just avoid it. Something like this, for instance, would be much nicer. Now this could be definitely challenging as well because it's kind of oval and it's kind of like tilted, but let's see. And maybe I could use that free transform box to maybe have an understanding of the distortion that should take place, but still this is quite interestingly challenging in terms of like understanding it as a twisted oval versus this kind of challenging curvature. So I might end up really regretting this attempt, but I really like the idea of putting a sticker here because of that shadow. So I would edit that decal or sticker later in a way that I could make it look realistic. So the point here is to really pressure myself as much as possible to use more tools and methodologies. So in this process here, I'm going to click on warp, and warp is going to give me this kind of really nice flexible mesh because I have this curvature here, right? So the goal is to kind of bulge it in just a little bit in a way that it could feel that it's kind of adapting to that surface, and then hit enter. Well, speaking of heat, maybe these canisters, it would be fitting. The challenges that I need to consider before I place this over the can is that I have this specular line, which would be fun to kind of find my way out of it in a way that makes this blend properly. Although we have blending modes, but sometimes the blending modes can only do so much. The other thing is that the fact that it's kind of cylindrical. So let's see, Control T, and I'm going to be using the I could use that specular line in a way that it tells me how the line is supposed to be, the line of orientation, and I can align this line here along with that specular, or at least somewhere in that area, just so I can have a reference of that orientation. Now the other thing that I want to do is to scale this up, but without really changing its placement from here. So if I click and hold Alt and then I scale up, it's going to scale it from the center here. I'm supposed to drag it to one direction like this. So it's good to know this shortcut of, or hotkey of using Alt. Okay, so now that it's this way, I'm gonna hit enter so it would process a little bit, and then Control T, right mouse button, warp. Let's see what I can do here. Yeah, sometimes Photoshop, like you click on that exact point and it would give you some error kind of alert. So sometimes you can just easily just grab the mesh from inside that warp box. I'm gonna start by aligning the external box. Exaggerated kind of curvature there, so I need to fulfill that. And I can see here that the line here is looking good, but the line here is kind of warped, so I'll push this up a little bit. And then I would push this back since I feel like it's kind of stretched. Okay, enter. I think that's enough, but I can definitely go with more. I think this here would be an interesting spot. This one here, and not sure, maybe this one here. Yeah, let's do few more. It's good to take a look at the line here. So I would understand from that there's that kind of curvature there or movement. This way I can just scale this down and then start with a corner and then hit Control and then move this up. I can see here that the curvature there, so that suggests that I would need to ultimately use the warp tool. Now click and hold Control and then move this like that. I could initially just start it this way just so I can align things in a way that is as accurate as possible. Also, I need to consider that this area here is closer to the camera and this needs to kind of like taper down in terms of the scale, so I could do some tapering. And then right mouse button, warp. Feels a little too much, but now it should be okay. Hit enter. Yeah, it doesn't look bad. I mean, all of them right now, they look terrible because there's no editing to them. And editing is a huge part of the success of utilizing decals. This could be somewhere here on the thigh, maybe. Let's see. Rotate, scale up, then distort, make it fit in. Now, even though there's a curvature there, it's just the way it's segmented and not necessarily that this curvature needs to affect the decal. Okay. This would be cool too. It's kind of tempting, right? This would be nice for I don't think these pistons should have any decals because they need to be as clean as possible. Maybe especially that this would be actually a really cool subtlety challenge. Somewhere here, kind of hidden, almost. And since I already have it there, I can also hit Alt and then move it over here. Control T. This is one of the cute stickers that you can just populate whenever you feel like it on any small surface. And it would add a really nice clutter overall. I could also add it here. Control T. and it needs to be larger because I'm suggesting that it's the same sticker, but since this object is closer to the camera, it needs to be a little bit larger, at least a little bit more. And then Control T, right mouse button, warp, and I'm gonna grab it from the core and just a little bit of a bend. A lot of subtlety, but you know, editing this piece with love, caring for those little details. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It looks amazing. No,